Meghan and Harry, full of big dreams but without a throne, decided to start something new. Step by step, they're making their dream come true. They're updating their website with cool new logos, showing they mean business. Some folks are upset that they're still using their titles to their advantage. Lots of people think they should lose those titles. Hello, friends. Welcome to the King YouTube channel, where we dive into all the latest gossip. Let's chat about Meghan's boring handbag and Harry's new website. We've all been curious about what Meghan and Harry have been up to. Harry's sudden trip to the UK to see his dad raised some eyebrows, especially after all the drama of the past few years. In a classic Sussex maneuver, Harry cleverly diverted attention, if only for a moment, from their true intentions. Creating a website like theirs takes a lot of time. So all their talk about reconciliation was just a distraction. They even used the same companies Meghan used before for her influencer site. Meghan, known for bending the truth, defended their actions and praised the designers, trying to make it seem like a big deal. They intentionally chose to relaunch their homepage as Sussex.com, stirring up controversy. It seems like they're trying to appear more royal, or at least like they're still connected to the royal family from their home in Montecito. It's a clear attempt to show they got what they wanted from the royal family, all while pretending to still work for them while cashing in whenever they can. I strongly advise caution if you plan to visit the site. Many people have reported receiving unwanted emails, texts, and such after visiting it, suggesting that their data might have been collected without permission. So be careful. The controversy is mainly about the decision to replace the Archwell website with Sussex.com. This new site now houses everything related to their philanthropic and business ventures, previously under the umbrella of Sussex Royal. Before Meghan's involvement, they attempted to launch a website under the name Sussex Royal, but Her Majesty, the late Queen, intervened, stopping their profit-making plans. It's suspicious how quickly they managed to trademark names and set up the website after their extravagant wedding. Creating such detailed and complex websites usually takes months. Meghan, in her usual style, fired back at the late Queen, claiming she didn't have sole ownership of the word royal, even though it had been associated with various charities for a decade, raising and donating millions of dollars annually. The Royal Foundation, originally established in memory of Diana, was split up just a month after Archie was born on June 20, 2019. Meghan and Harry wasted no time and announced the division of its assets the very next day, June 21. Interestingly, on the same day, they filed a trademark for Sussex Royal with the UK government's Intellectual Property Office. It's worth noting that June 21 is also William's birthday, which seems more than just a coincidence considering the timing. Unfortunately, there have been too many instances like this involving Meghan and Harry for it to be dismissed as mere coincidence. On July 1, Sussex Royal officially became a private limited company. And 6 months later, on January 8, 2020, they shocked everyone with an unexpected announcement. They were leaving Britain and cutting ties with the royal family without even consulting them beforehand. Emily Andrews from The Sun revealed that both Harry and Meghan threatened the Queen with a tell-all interview during the royal summit to get their way. Yes, I recall that the late Queen made a decision regarding Harry and Meghan's use of the Sussex Royal brand. She ruled that they couldn't use it to promote their merchandise or activities in North America. Additionally, they were no longer allowed to represent the Queen or use their Royal Highness titles since they weren't working members of the royal family anymore. The palace viewed Sussex Royal as posing both commercial and reputational risks. However, despite this ruling, they've gone against the agreement by using the Sussex name for their new commercial platform venture. This has understandably angered the public, as it's seen as a breach of their contract with the Queen. Ultimately, they've launched a new charity, supposedly in aid of non-existent invisible children. With all proceeds going to them, it's quite convenient timing considering it came after the announcement of King Charles's illness. They might be hoping he's too preoccupied to address the situation at the moment. The Sussex Royal website is still up and running, and it's linked to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's office site, and vice versa. Recently, they launched a new homepage for their office, featuring Meghan's coat of arms and cipher prominently. However, it's supposed to be a joint website, yet seems like another rebranding effort focused more on Meghan than Harry. The website is named Sussex with detailed biographies for both of them, though Meghan's is noticeably longer. They both leverage the names and titles of their children. Harry's biography describes him as a humanitarian, military veteran, mental health advocate, and environmental campaigner. However, it fails to mention any actions or responses to the atrocities committed in Africa by those associated with their charity. He's listed as a board member, and she's hailed as a feminist and advocate for human rights and gender equality. However, both biographies strangely avoid commenting on the issues surrounding their African charity or the company she co-owns, which is under investigation by the state of California for containing high levels of lead. There's also concern about the materials sourced from countries with human rights violations and re-education camps. In their biographies, they boast about every award and pseudo accomplishment, as well as the latest news about themselves, as if it matters to us. Interestingly, they both conveniently omit the dubious accomplishment bestowed upon them by The Hollywood Reporter, which labeled them as the biggest losers of 2023. It's quite odd considering their love for titles and attention. As we've heard, the Duchess of Markle was adamant about having a say in the production of their coat of arms. She insisted that the crown should not be placed on her head but around her neck. Quite an unusual request, don't you think? Some critical folks have suggested that Meghan's choice to have the crown around her neck in the coat of arms is to conceal signs of aging like sagging skin and wrinkles. They even joked that the heraldic designer seemed to be teasing when he drew unusually thin legs on the bird, perhaps hinting at something. The claw scratching the shield seemed fitting with the squawking mouth, which has sparked ongoing chatter. Interestingly, Meghan opted to give Harry a dog collar instead of a crown in the design, which leaves us wondering about its symbolism. She also requested that the lion appear to lean back, indicating its fear of the bird, but there's a hidden message in the crest. Meghan mentioned her fondness for yachting, so the designer initially included a boat, but it didn't quite fit. Instead, he incorporated a plant, which supposedly reminds her of enjoyable moments below deck. The blue bars on the shield supposedly symbolize the ocean near Clown Castle, while the feathers are said to represent Meghan's ability to express her choices. Some interpret the Tatey bird being choked by the coronet around its neck differently. Some see it as the monarchy stifling its incessant squawking, while others believe Meghan would prefer it to represent her being silenced by the monarchy deliberately. As for the spindly leg of the bird grasping a quill, it's seen by some as her struggle to find her voice, with her beak open as usual but not saying anything of importance. Here's how I imagined it. The left side represents the spouse, with the bird from which the feathers originate being especially significant. Although I'm not sure what raptor feathers look like, I'll go with the goose, symbolizing the goose that laid the golden egg. So they could be chickens symbolizing the roast chicken that occurred on the eve of the proposal. Now on the right is a rampant bird for the British. No need to dig deeper. The rampant bird is wearing a court, an echo of the lion's rampant cornet. A crown represents status. The higher the crown, the more important the person seeing the tea being worn on the lowest reasonably possible position perhaps illustrates the witch's importance. Ridiculous. Maybe we should all suggest an update as they use this emblem, as they didn't hang around long enough in the royal family to be granted a conjugal emblem. Either way, it's out of date, as are the pair of odious toots, as it does not depict Charles as King Desperate Times A in this heraldry. The coronet is wrong for a duke. Why would their website show her coat of arms rather than his? Interestingly, a black barrister is questioning whether Meghan and Harry might be breaking the law by using their royal crest on their website. The website mentions business, and they're not supposed to use royal crests, titles, etc. for profit. It'll be intriguing to see if they face legal consequences for this infringement. I really don't understand why their tie to the royal family is acceptable. Here in the USA, we don't want, or accept them pretending to be royalty. Meghan seems past her prime, and Harry seems foolish for siding with someone who disrespects their family, especially when they're physically vulnerable. Meghan's treatment of the late Queen, one of the finest monarchs ever, confirmed my suspicions about her. Now, I despise them both. The truth is, Harry no longer has a role to play in the British royal family. In my view, his influence is nil. When it comes to policy and protocol, he has no input. He made it clear he didn't want to be a working member of the British royal family. The British royal family, including the King and Prince William, have made it clear they want nothing to do with him. The King's reaction will be to ignore his youngest son. He simply knows Prince Harry can change nothing and influence no one of importance. So he has nothing to worry about at all. Harry's wife can come up with as many designs of coats of arms, snappy titles and projections for being a global leader, but nothing changes the fact she's on the outside looking in, and she certainly would have never had access to the people she now mixes with had she remained the daughter of Doria and Thomas Markle, a divorced couple from California, USA people no one had heard of before their daughter married Harry. While Meghan's underlying ambition might be to undermine the British royal family, she fails to grasp that centuries of history will always hold more significance than her. She may register as many patents as she wants using titles from the British royal family's archives, but she fails to comprehend that she doesn't own the word royal or the name Lily or any other schemes she comes up with. In reality, when it comes to monarchies worldwide, the Sussex family is often the subject of jokes and memes within inner circles. European royals will likely band together to protect their UK counterparts, keeping Meghan and Harry at arm's length, as for exploiting her position for personal gain with a fake coat of arms. Let's be serious. The moment people realize they have no influence among the rich and famous, they'll be forgotten in no time. The majority of the British and Commonwealth public can see through Harry's disgraceful behavior, realizing he no longer has a place in the UK or the Commonwealth. Outside of the press, who love to exploit his position with catchy headlines devoid of substance, he's virtually non-existent. These headlines may grab attention for a day or two before fading into obscurity. His late grandmother, the Queen, who held the power to offer him a lifeline, often expressed her sentiments with the famous quip, "Some recollections may vary." She gave him 12 months to redeem himself or face exile from the family. Unfortunately, he failed to meet her expectations, especially after his wife Meghan's misleading statements and the subsequent chaos surrounding his grandfather's death and funeral. There's little to gain by acknowledging Harry or his family anymore. Despite family events like deaths, coronations, and restructuring, Harry has attempted to reconcile, but every door remains firmly shut. No one wants him around anymore. He's become as unwelcome as a poisonous puffer fish. Even if the king still feels some paternal warmth toward Prince Henry, he too has shut his youngest son out of the inner workings of the British royal family's official affairs. The bank of dad is closed, and the king must prioritize his own health and well-being. Adopting the stance of never complain and never explain is a wise move. Harry is now out of the loop with no insight beyond our official palace statements. He only has himself to blame for trying to carve out a solo path in the US instead of remaining a team player. Frankly, Harry holds little real influence in either the US, the UK, or the 14 realms, let alone the 54 countries of the Commonwealth of Nations. After the so-called Sandringham Summit in 2020, Meghan and Harry agreed to step back from royal duties and refrain from using their royal titles for commercial purposes or exploiting their royal connections. However, it seems they failed in these regards from the start, as many close to the royal household believe. Their actions have been viewed as a flagrant breach of the assurances they gave to the late Queen when they voluntarily stepped down as working royals in 2020. Instead of upholding their agreement, they've engaged in behavior such as launching attacks against the family via Oprah, Netflix, and other platforms, coming dangerously close to leveraging their royal status for personal gain. Many have labeled this a deliberate betrayal of the agreement. And rightly so, in this writer's opinion. At the time of their departure from life as working royals, they abandoned the commitment they made to serve the monarch. Remember, Meghan could have continued her career as an actress, but instead, she expressed her desire to pursue commercial deals in the US while promising to uphold the values of Her Majesty, as stated in their public statement. How ironic it is that they can't seem to let go of the titles and privileges bestowed upon them by the country and institution they spent the past 4 years complaining about incessantly. Despite their claims, they still cling to their royal status in every sense of the word, evident in their prominent use of royal iconography, ciphers, titles, and so on. They prioritize their royal image over earning respect from others. Yet they fail to realize that nobody cares anymore. They've become irrelevant. While people may have cared at one time, their constant complaints and accusations about unfair treatment have exhausted any remaining support, leaving only their fervent and equally offensive supporters. Fantastic thing to consider, and the web domain Sussex.com was registered back in 1995, but recent records show it was updated earlier this month. The question arises. Harry and Meghan didn't receive their titles until they married in 2018. So who registered the domain name in 1995 when there wasn't a Duke or Duchess of Sussex for generations? It's hard to say, given the variety of domain names connected to them and their children. But who could have predicted the title of Sussex specifically? Are there other domains out there registered in the hopes that Harry and Meghan might receive them? One can only speculate. Hopefully, this latest disrespect towards the UK, the Commonwealth, the royal family, and the citizens of Sussex will prompt Parliament and the King to finally address the actions of the traitorous duo once and for all. Now, we understand the reasons behind all the posturing and press releases about arranging a return to the UK, the staged airport photos, and the selective media coverage of Harry's arrivals and departures from Clarence House. It's all smoke and mirrors, another sleight of hand by the grifting duo to divert attention from their true activities. There are rumors circulating, as there always are, suggesting that the Sussexes believe the late Queen's death renders all their previous agreements and promises null and void. The death of the late Queen freed Harry and Meghan from what they perceived as the oppressive constraints imposed by the cruel and racist royal family. With her passing, they believe they can now act and do as they please. It's not difficult to imagine them saying something along those lines, especially if it means making a profit. Even these individuals can generate some money, though sadly they seem to be losing ground here in the US. Harry's recent elevator incident didn't go over well. You can't kick Americans off an elevator just because you think you deserve it all to yourself. The media needs to stop allowing Meghan to control the narrative. Personally, I'm unimpressed with Nvidia and the Canadian government for accommodating their excessive demands, like no eye contact and no speaking unless spoken to first. Fresh Linens Food. $8,000 a night private plane as on staff as for her new shitty podcast. Seriously, who fucking cares? The company is hardly worth a mention. If she makes $1 million, she'll be lucky. As for her new web thing, I will not click on anything to do with them. It's full of lies. Finally, I think King Charles and his lawyers need to investigate and send a cease and desist letter for copyright infringement, and unlawful acts and legal action will take place. She will continue to abuse the system until legal action is taken. What happened to the IRS investigation? What happened to Africa? Unless action is taken, they will ignore everything and push forward. That brings us to the end of this video. How do you feel about Traitor Harry? Let's discuss this with others in the comments section. Don't hesitate to share this video of mine with everyone. And do you remember when I said that YouTube's algorithm likes videos with lots of interaction? Please lend a hand to help the King YouTube channel develop further. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and we will come back with more interesting videos.